Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Talk Tissue. Today, we're talking with Susan Marshall, the General Manager of Edson. Susan, thank you so much for joining us. Glad you could participate in this edition. We're looking forward to learn a little bit more about Edson. To start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and some of your background in the industry and a little bit
Sure.
at the same time?
That's great. So yeah, I've been with Edson for a little over 4 years now, and I came into Edson kind of more on the engineering design side, and have been general manager here for a little over a year. So very integrated into a lot of the design aspects. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, have done a lot with design itself, and then come into the aftermarket and customer side of things as well. So really great fit coming into Edson and being able to kind of venture up a little bit further and deal directly with our customers with having that technical background, which I think is really important.
Yeah, and you said you've been the general manager now for about a year. How is that? And it's been a rough year as far as travel and visiting customers. Mm-hmm. Customers adapted to working with Edson. How are you guys bridging that gap?
Yes, so definitely a different way of dealing with the business over the past 2 years, I would say almost. Mm-hmm. What's been really great is Edson has a lot of really strong connections with their customer base. So we've worked really well with our customers to kind of help support them in that when we haven't been able to travel as much due to some of the tissue companies, not having visitors in to protect their and keep things up. Also really helped on being able to flex with our customers because they've had to change their product a lot to, support the industry when we've seen these
Sure.
on the tissue industry itself.
Mm-hmm.
So really worked well. We transitioned really quickly to going online, to making sure that we were connected and still visible and reaching out to our customers. So that's been really great. And then just making sure that we're listening to them and helping them when they need to change things quickly, because we know, in this past year with supply strain issues on a lot of things that way, you needed to be able to adapt very quickly and say, what can we do in place of this? Because you need to have your uptime going. So
Sure.
Definitely a different tactic than if, came into this role probably about 5 years ago. But I think that's what, your strength is in people and making sure that you can bring them together. And then we're very open and honest with your customers and supporting them the way they need.
Sure. Yeah. And as I travel around to the tissue mills, like you're saying, it's very limited to who you can see. It's kind of like on an emergency basis. But people are a commodity now in the industry as well. It's very hard to find people. And,
Absolutely.
Some of your solutions that I've been looking on your site and some of the things you guys post on LinkedIn and on your social media cater to that. It isn't as people-centric or people-heavy. Your solutions let these companies diversify the way they can make their products. And one of the trends that continues to get stronger and stronger is on-time packaging. So, a customer, an end user needs, 3 pallets worth of toilet paper for some reason. You're able to accommodate that for them. Can you elaborate a little bit more on kind of how your solutions adapt to this modern way of on-time? I call it on-time packaging. I'm not sure if there's an industry name.
Absolutely. So we've seen that trend where a lot has gone for that direct ship, right? It used to be a lot of packaging requests that was more for box stores. So you'd have really big cases, have a lot that would be going to your Sam's Club, your Costco, those kind of things. And the nice thing with the way that we have our equipment designed is that it's very flexible to change between different pack configurations. Mm-hmm. Always been a bonus point of having our type of equipment. So what we've seen over the past couple of years is that really big trend to go to that direct shipping. So all of a sudden cases have gone really, really small, right? Originally, when we were designing, you weren't thinking that you'd be doing a 6 by 8 inch case because, who would be buying that? Mm-hmm. Now we're seeing a lot more of that trend. So the nice thing is, a lot of our existing equipment could already stretch, or it was something that we'd go back and we'd said, hey, this is the trend. Let's go back and see what we can do for our customers who have 10 machines on the floor. And we've give them an aftermarket package to say, hey, you make these changes and no problem, you can have your uptime and you'll be back to running your direct to ship product, right? Getting that out, making sure you can switch over really quick. Sure. That's the thing that we're finding is, you don't want your customer having 2 hours to change over a machine. So
absolutely,
for us, it's got to be under 15 minutes. It's got to be user friendly because we are seeing that turnover in staffing with a lot of our clientele. So you have to make it straightforward. You don't need a mechanic to make it change over.
Sure.
You can come in and just go, okay, let me follow my directions on my HMI and we're good to go. So that's a redirect for us for sure.
And standardizing those practices are so important. A lot of these tissue converting facilities now are having these huge hiring events almost on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Training these people is very costly. It's very time consuming, where you can focus all those resources and time to something that's going to be productive. So obviously that solution you're talking about where it's minimal operator learning is very, very helpful. Aside from that as well, one of the bigger focuses of this talk and why we kind of brought this to the table to bring you in and share is Edson is going to be launching a new product here very soon. And Tissue World is about a month away, and we're all excited to be gathered together again down in Miami, where it's a little warmer than where we're currently located. Elaborate a little bit, maybe tease us a little bit. I know we're going to see the final product at Tissue World, but can you give us a little heads up?
Absolutely. So, we're listening to the customer and we're listening to the customer base and saying, what is the next thing? And, we started off, we see a lot of these e-commerce, but we're also seeing there's a lot more of those boutique kind of suppliers that are doing smaller runs of different types of things. And they need equipment that's geared towards that. So we have the flexibility and higher rates, but you don't necessarily need those high rates on a lot of those, smaller product lines. So kind of redirect it and took, the high qualities that we have in our equipment that we're known for the flexibility, for the ease of use and the robustness. And what we've done is we are launching a top load case packer that we're going to be showing at Tissue World, which we're really excited for. So it's the 4000 TL. And what this is geared towards is that market of, needing a robust, reliable piece of equipment that can switch between these product configurations very easily with, not highly technical staff. You want that user interface, which is really easy and direct. And then it's also looking at some of those industries that were more manual packaging, which because of the labor shortages, are now looking to automate. So those away from home products before where you do manual cases, where you could bring in a staff of 30 people to pack them and get them out, you can't get the staff now. So instead, we're doing an economical piece of equipment that you can bring in and it can replace that. And you can be switching between your products. You can run something for a day, half a day, 3 days, and switch it over very quickly to the next product and you're up and running. So we want to make sure that we're catering to those different areas. So we can do an away from home product like a JRT or hard, or you can do a diaper. If you have a small diaper line that you want to do that's, small cases, again, e-commerce, let's get it in and out pretty quick. And a lot of those other ones that are even co-packers where they're branding a couple different things. This way you can switch between your products very quickly and economically and get the product out and ready to go.
Sure. So I know a lot of companies now are investing in hybrid flex lines, make retail bathroom products on it and quickly change it over to make JRT as well. This is going to be a more of a common trend in the industry. Can you give us an idea of approximately how fast it is to change over on the TL 4000? Just an approximate from.
So it's definitely going to be under 10 to 15 minutes. It depends on obviously the reach on the difference of it, because this is actually a robotic one that we're bringing to Tissue World. It's going to be really quick to change your end of arm tool. So we're talking, a couple minutes through your HMI. And the only adjustments you would be is your setup for your case size on your computer, right? So really minimal changes on it, which is really the target you want to do. You want to make sure that you have a lot more uptime for your customer than dealing with a lot of different things. So.
Yeah, I think that's something nice and unique about Edson. I've known Edson for some time now, and it's unique because you're strictly focused on the packaging and the cartoning side of it rather than the converting and the tissue. You're strictly about the end of line. And so you have a keen focus and you have a lot of dedicated, manpower and engineering power just on that end of line. So that's really neat, where a lot of companies that manufacture tissue converting equipment are focused more on the front of the line. So that is an advantage that you have being dedicated to just to the end there. So we're looking forward to seeing that at Tissue World. Is it going to be running? Is it going to be operational for people to manipulate and touch?
Absolutely. So we're going to have it running. We're going to have it set up right now in kind of a functioning manual or manner so that you can see that. And then we'll be running it a couple times through the show to actually pack some cases for people so they can see how it's operating, what the user interface looks like on it, bells and whistles and all together, cool. Right? So some other stuff that we want to highlight too is some of the integration aspects that we bring to the market, being part of Promoc as a bigger company.
Yes.
We're looking at different options that we can be more of a one-stop shop for our customers and our client base. So, we can provide the conveyors that go into the case packer and out of the case packer. We can look at the palletizers that's coming out at the end of that. We can look at the labeling equipment if you want to label your case, as it's coming through. So it's all in one thing. Those are the opportunities that we're bringing to the market because we're listening to the customer who's saying, you know what? I don't want to pick and choose. I want a solution and I want it to work. And that's what we want to do.
Yeah, you have more than one option there. And that's a good point to make, that Edson is not just Edson. It's a much bigger entity, Promoc, which is several different companies all focused on packaging, labeling, like you said, conveyor systems. So it's more than just packaging. So thank you for correcting me there.
No problem.
So 2022, we like to ask people in the industry, such as yourself, how do you see, what's the forecast for 2022? How do you see the industry? We know Tissue World is happening. We're going to get together and meet once again. How do you envision, how does the rest of the year go? Not just for Edson, but maybe for the industry.
Yeah. So the industry, like you said, we're seeing a lot of changes within the industry. It's not just, the major players that we used to see a few years ago. So I think you're seeing a lot more diversification of who's offering things and who's coming out. So it's catering to say, hey, we want to build those relationships with those customers as well. We have great relationships with our existing customer base. It's more of a collaboration on a lot of these things. And that's what we bring to the market when we're developing new customers, right? And giving them those options. But again, we're seeing a lot more with the flexibility and the requirement that way, a lot more on the user interface with the workers that are actually operating the equipment now versus 10 years ago. So we need to make sure that we're listening to that. We're bringing in a lot more robotics into our platform, right? We want to make sure that we're current, up to date, and bringing new opportunities. So there's some exciting things we're looking to bring to market that's going to include robotics throughout the year. So we're pretty stoked for that and hoping that everybody's looking forward to seeing what's going to be coming out, because I think it's going to create a really safe environment for their team, which is important, a really user-friendly one, and something that they're going to get a good ROI on, which is, the big ticket things when you're a client that you're looking for is you want to make sure it's safe, you want to make sure it's efficient, and you want to make it cost effective.
Mm-hmm. And the safety aspect hasn't been talked a lot about lately. I think that with the higher automation and the robotics, the safety factor and people actually getting injured, that goes down. And so I think that's fantastic. I really appreciate everything you shared today, Susan. Looking forward to meeting you at Tissue World, and I encourage anyone watching, stop in. I'm sure Susan would love to show you how this machine works, or one of her colleagues there at Edson would love to show you and talk to you what they have going on. Reach out to Susan. She's pretty active on LinkedIn, and Edson, follow their page as well. Thank you, Susan, for the time. Look forward to seeing you.
I look forward to seeing you at Tissue World. Thank you.
Thank you.